Hey guys, Keith Keller, Melbourne, Australia. And we're trying something brand new today. We're trying StreamYard with about 1 million guests, and look at them all. Look, this is just such a cool thing where we're trying StreamYard in every conceivable configuration. Vienna, Miami, Connecticut, Perth, Calgary, Melbourne. And what I want to do here is I really want to make the point that digital events are better than real life. Now, you've seen the theme song. It's got 10 points. We've got lots of guests coming in from all over the world to share their wisdom around the idea that digital events are indeed better than real life in some ways. And we're going to make the point for that today. So we've got people calling in from all over the world. I'm going to introduce them gradually throughout the show. The basic format for the show is that we go in 30-minute allotments. People will drop in and drop out. That way that guests don't have to stay the whole length of the show. It'll probably go about 2 hours, but you don't have to stay that long. You have 3 basic ways that you can watch the show, and I want to find out from you what suits you. You can watch it either on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or Periscope. So let me know in the comments section how you can, which ones you love. I particularly want to know what sites you use to watch your streams, because that'll help us configure the content in the future. And also I want to know where you're watching from. So this particular show is all about the idea that digital events are a thing, and we want to make them really interesting. We're going to try lots of different sites throughout the course of this series. We've got a show every week until Easter now. And we're really making the point that digital events are indeed better than real life. So let me throw to our co-hosts, Doyle and Irene, starting with Doyle. Mate, why do you think, actually Doyle's dropped out for some reason, we've lost him. I'll throw to Irene. This is not by any means a second. She's my favorite Russian Connecticut person. So, So, Irene, tell me why you think digital events are indeed better than real life, and what are we doing here with this show?
What we're doing here, Keith, first of all, we all from around the world came to join you, Keith, because you are our rock star. You rock our world in social media, on Twitter, and on actually experimenting with lots of new ideas, lots of new platforms. So I want to start with applauding to you, Keith, gathering us all. And quickly, thank you for that. And quickly, to answer my question, to answer your question, what am I doing here? Here, I want to talk about digital. I want to talk about digital transformation for marketing, for events. Part of digital economy. Every business is trying to figure out, what do? Do they stay the same? They already transformed by COVID. Are they going to transform themselves going forward? So events is like a huge part of digital marketing, digital strategy overall. So here with our fantastic guests, I do hope to explore this topic a little further, because again, we have wealth of experiences here from speakers, from keynote speakers, from authors, from influencers, and also audience members and business leaders. So I'm wearing my smart jacket. I want to address our event topic today from business standpoint, because we're going to talk about experiences. We're going to talk about conveniences, but I also want to talk about business aspect for those listening to us.
Well, it's very important, because you've come from an environment where you were doing a lot of in-person events, which cost a lot of money, which were very difficult to measure. And also, they were logistically very hard to pull together, and the cost was like exorbitant. And you've been very inspired by what can be done with the digital marketing world. We have, right at this point in time, someone from Melbourne, Perth, Miami, Vienna, Connecticut, and Calgary. Now, imagine that logistics of putting all of those people in the one room and how much that would cost in flights and accommodation and food and toxicity to the planet. I mean, just imagine, that's really the essence, isn't it, Irene, of where you're coming from, isn't it?
Totally. So for those who don't know me yet, they will know me very soon. So I did have a couple of decades with IBM, and I was leading worldwide marketing teams for the particular segment and big tech company, and planning, executing those events. It was fun. It was months and months and months of work, and it was return for those physical events we all miss so much. Return was sometimes not so easy to prove, to Keith's point. So we're here to reinvent something, to offer something new to all the anxious audiences and speakers and companies out there who do need to do something different. So thanks for leading the way.
No worries. Well, I'm going to bring Doyle in now. I just want to say a big hello to Louise Poppy in New Zealand. And this, again, is the reason why we're doing this. Louise in Auckland, New Zealand. I think she's in Auckland today. She travels around New Zealand doing these really great Periscope videos. And we've been hanging out on a new site called Haps TV, which we'll introduce you to in a couple of weeks. And we've had some experiments there too. So a big hello to Louise in New Zealand. So that's pretty funky. Please make your comments there, and I'll add them in. But Doyle, what do you think's going on with digital events? What do you think we're on the cusp of something really powerful, and why are they indeed better than real life?
Well, I think ultimately we're looking at sort of that, not necessarily escape, but we're looking for a way to do things differently than we were before. And if 2020 taught us anything, it's that we have to sort of be on our toes and be prepared to kind of adapt and move, or, change or refocus, or whatever word you want to use as well. So it's been really apparent that we need to kind of combine that into a proper, remarkable digital experience. And that's what I believe a lot of businesses are missing or missed out on. In 2020, like we saw a huge amount of growth, like in some cases, like 5 to 10 years of growth in 6 months kind of thing, for those companies that were able to provide, parts of that digital experience and able to sort of guide their customer and audience along that journey that they're bringing them on. So for me, the big thing that I see coming in 2021 is a remarkable digital experience worth remembering, combining it with all those different aspects. Zoom is a great starting point. It's been around for a while. There's a lot other tools that are out there. StreamYard is definitely one of those that gives you a lot more flexibility, but I see a sort of a combination, an integration of all these different tools together so that we can create something, again, remarkable. It's not just talking heads. And I mean, we're kind of at the cusp of that we are right now just talking heads, but we've been putting in, a lot of research and a lot of talk and discovery into how do we actually take this forward as well. So to me, that's very, very important. And why can how can we actually move past sort of the standard event that you go to? I think it's really fundamentally important that we just see what it is. It allows that flexibility, right? We've kind of entered that time where distance is irrelevant. You mentioned it, like we have 7 people here, all from different corners of the world. And Tony, what are you doing in Calgary? Come on, you're not in Calgary, are you?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I'm not in Calgary. I'm in Edmonton.
Let's
just clarify that right now.
Yeah,
you said it a few times. Yeah, you said it a few times. You could sense it because Doyle, as I've learned, right, and I know he's been he was born and raised in Edmonton, but also in Calgary. So we've got a parallel. Yeah, it's nice. Thank you for that. Yes.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah.
Well, you've got the screen.
That's the cool part, is that we can connect around the world and go back to your hometown and connect with somebody there, which is just brilliant. Distance is totally irrelevant nowadays.
It is, and it does open up a new medium. And really, it used to be this environment where you were more prone to do business with a company across the street, right? Well, now all of a sudden we've been faced with this pandemic event where you might be able to work with someone more who has a better digital experience and presence that works more effectively for you than that person or company across the street. So there's been this change, right? And I think that we'll see this change roll out, you know, more so in this 2021 year. But look at it before, you know, like we're only what, 50 years last, you know, how many years where events have been put together and, you know, people have been going to them and they've been good and they've been effective. There's been missed points. There's been a lot of cost. I was just talking earlier today with some colleagues on the high cost that these events are, like for even bringing, like where I've gone in for influencer events, things like that, things that Irene would be familiar with. These are high costs, right? And where is the total value? So I think we're going to see more develop out over this year. And I think digital experience and how you experience that and what will be the evolution from just a Zoom experience to a more engaged experience will be really key.
Yeah. Well, can you elaborate on what you think the really key points are? What do you think the best things that are about digital? Is it the cost? Is that one of the big savings? The cost of flights and accommodation and food and the logistics of just putting these things together.
Yeah, it really is. I think we'll see even as we come out of this. I've had a few discussions on this, and I think we'll see some more smaller community-based stuff that will have some, more present stuff, but on a smaller scale. I don't know if we'll see the mass events, maybe not for the next few years anyways, right? So I think there's going to be this combination of digital events that allow you to network and to be able to chat with and engage with other organizations, people, everything else. And then it's going to give you a capability, how I see it evolving out, where you're able to reconnect with those. So I think those are good things. Things that I've seen work really good are, events where I've gone in and been able to choose between what speaker I want to see, right? So I can see in a menu, I can see the different things that are available. Those really work well. I know, Keith, you and I were having some dialogue back and forth on this. That real experience where you come into like a main area and it's almost like your virtual experience where there is the trade show area, there is this, engagement networking area, there is the breakout sessions. I think we'll see some different ways for those to evolve, and really looking forward to seeing how that rolls out. But really, it's going to be a different world going forward. People realize, organizations realize cost savings. They realize a lot of money's being put into that. And then just the time that it takes to get there and back, everything else. There's a lot of different things that you really gain out of doing digital. And then how do you make it better, right? Iterations make it better, right?
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, a big hello to Erica, who's come in. She actually has scheduled to be at 7:30, but she's so excited she's coming early. We're going to get to her in a minute. I want to bring Ingrid in because I know she's got another appointment to go to, so let's really maximize her wisdom. She's very big on the VR world. So, Ingrid, tell me a little bit about what you think digital marketing will do, or more importantly, digital events, and why do you love them, and what's the real cost or the real benefit?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. And I definitely echo what everybody else mentioned in terms of the benefits, the decreased cost and improved ability to reach audiences that otherwise we could have never engaged with. But my additional comment would be, yes, that we will notice a convergence of technologies that can be integrated within the events. And I think we're going to share a lot of lessons learned from the video gaming industry that has been doing very well to do gamification, VR, AR, and I think some of the more progressive companies are even moving into extended reality. So I think if I had to choose, that would be my priority. I think we're going to see a movement towards borrowing elements that we see traditionally only in video gaming. And those would be not only convergence of technologies, but also the behavioral aspects, the behavioral economics, right? How do you engage the audience to have an incentive to want more and more of these virtual events? So monetization, incentivization, what we call behavioral economics, right? Where you don't have to beg people to play video games. They seek them out and they want to stay. So I think if we manage to invent a way that would balance out what we're doing now for professional reasons in networking events, but also engage the audience to be able to customize not only which speaker, but also how do you want the event to go? What ending do you want? Do you want rewards? Do you want to give bonuses to all of us? Do you want to rank the speakers as we speak? So similar things that video gaming has done successfully for years. I think that probably will change the paradigm, and we'll continue to see a hybrid virtual events network over the next few years. I don't think we'll ever go back to just live. I think it's gonna stay as a hybrid.
Let me pick up on what you've just said there. There's some elements in the business world that are not so fascinated by the word gaming, but what you actually have said is really important, that we're taking elements from the gaming world because the engagement is high and the participation is very, very active. And this, as you said, you don't have to encourage people to play video games. They're fun, so people will do it. You don't have to drag them into an event that they have to go to. They want to go. Is that the reason why you think gamification will sort of morph into a business context? Is that the main reason, do you think?
I think it will be, and we see that we live in an instant economy. To expand on what Irene said, right? She mentioned digital economy. I would add it's digital and instant economy, right? Everybody wants to be part of everything. Everybody can be on camera now. Everybody can have their show on Instagram. So I think we need to elevate whatever we bring professionally, because otherwise, how are we going to be different than everybody in their living rooms? So I do believe that element, that extra element of incentivizing the audience to participate in the ending. We see also reality shows, right? When you give the audience the capacity to influence the outcome, good or bad, or to have choices live to decide how the events will go, I think you see increased engagement and increased desire to continue these type of events.
Yeah. Look, I actually think this is really powerful, because I've been saying recently that when I watch Netflix, I feel that I'm just sitting there in a very passive way, and my brain has got capacity to do something. I want to do something, give me something to do. I'm just sitting there as a couch potato, and I don't think that we're really satisfied with that anymore. I think we need to be, we've got capacity. It's like when you're driving your car, you've got capacity to listen to music. I don't think I could drive for more than an hour with no music playing. It'd bore me to tears. So really, we've got capacity for movement. And what I want to do now is I want to bring in Deb, who's actually from Connecticut, but is now living in Austria, Vienna, Austria. And again, that's another vindication of our global model. How do you think this, Deb, plays out over the education sphere? Because that's where you play. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing and why you think this really works.
Well, thanks so much, Keith. And it's a pleasure to be a part of this team and talking about this, because it is very, very relevant. I have been teaching since literally 2008, and really shifted everything into the online world over the last year in 2020. And it's had its benefits and its drawbacks. But I think that the benefits have exceeded the drawbacks. I think that part of that, as we are learning and institutions are learning on how to accommodate and to really be able to bring in the students, the audience, and get them engaged and have them be a part of it. That's really, that's really important. What I found is that one of the things that was really interesting to me was that right on the onset of, I taught my last live class in March, at the very beginning of March. And right after that, I got someone reached out to me in regards to one of the seminars that I gave, or one of the workshops I gave. And they were really interested in knowing more. And it just so happened that the next workshop I was teaching was exactly on the topic that they were interested in, and they were on the other side of the world. And what made a difference is that instead of having to come to the local university to now hear me speak, it became this inclusive platform where anybody, and I think we've been talking about that anybody has been able to join in on. And I think that is one of the greatest things that's happened with the online teaching and workshops and webinars, is that this inclusivity. You don't have to, like we've said, we don't have to be in one place together in one hall that we can actually have everybody join in from wherever. So I think that that's one of the biggest things is inclusivity and this, we don't have the proximity issue going on anymore. So that's a big one.
Yeah. Look, I really want to pick up on this idea that, you know, you had a course that someone really wanted to do, but they didn't live in your town. And I can just imagine getting everyone on this call to a venue in Melbourne we've had 0 cases for 15 days. So we're probably better suited, maybe with the exception of Perth, I don't think they've ever had a single case there. It's such a miracle little bubble there. But the point is that imagine the logistics of getting someone from Vienna, from Edmonton, not Calgary, Edmonton.
Thank you.
From Miami, from Kingston, Jamaica, from Connecticut. Imagine the logistics of that. And now we don't need to. We're having the discussion. People can hang out on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, and they can do wherever they want. They can make their comments there. We're really moving into a completely new era in the world of sharing information, in education, in events, in sales. Last week we had CES, 1 billion views of the videos over the course of that week. You know, videos will watch 277,000 times a day for, you know, mentioning various little gadgets like the latest Samsung 21 and, you know, the latest AMD chip, and the Intel was there, and, you know, all these different gaming consoles are there. We're now mentioning that gaming and business and all these sorts of things are moving together. I've seen this coming for a while. And with that in mind, I want to introduce my friend Erica from Jamaica. Now, this is a really powerful story. 2 years ago, in May 2019, we had the event, but we started the process in January 2019. Erica from Kingston, Jamaica said, look, I'm having an event and I want you to fly here and speak. And I said, no. And she said, why? Why are you saying no? Why are you saying no to a holiday in Jamaica and a 5-star hotel and a luxury resort? I said, couple of things, 27 hours on a flight to get there, 27 hours. Melbourne, LA, Miami. I could have visited Ingrid. Miami to Kingston, Jamaica. 27 hours of my life stuck in a chair watching half a dozen movies I probably would never watch in my personal time. You know, something to do. Right. And then I've got to go to the event, which I love doing, and then I've got to come back. It'll take me like a week to recover. So what we did was, this is May 2019, well before COVID, well before anyone had thought of this sort of stuff. And we did it. It was 12:30 at night on a Wednesday night here. My wife was in bed. I spoke at the back of the house. I spoke well. There was 150 people in the room and 50 people in the chat room. And it was a glorious event. And the reason why Erica's on this call again is because we're going to run this idea again. So tell us about how that event went and why this is really the gun. Why this is really moving us along.
Well, good evening. Good evening to everyone in here. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Tony. Hi, Ingrid. Hi, Irene. Hi, Doyle. Great to be here. And you know, this is just such. You know, I get really fired up. You know, I'm gonna jump in like. Yeah, because I get really fired up about this because as Keith just gave you the prelude, I am a coach and trainer, and also I plan events. This is my passion. This is what I do day in, day out. So the Global Digital Marketing Summit is a global conference. We're connecting with thousands of digital experts all around the world, like Keith and several other experts that were supposed to be in this one conference. So it was so good when, you know, Keith actually shed the light back then, and you can see that he's really an innovator, because in Jamaica at that time, people were more comfortable with people having face to face. They were like, I remember when we ran the event in 2018, people were like saying, please bring the people here. We want to see them in person. We want to see them. And whilst it is good, to have that face-to-face time, but now we're seeing that there is a better way. There is an easier way, both for the participant, the speakers, and also the show production, the creators like myself who put on events. There is a better way to get it done, and get it done in a cost-effective way, and you still get that quality just as if you were in person. But it's how we go about creating that experience, which is one of the reasons why we're here. So I don't really want to jump the gun too much.
Let me just bump in there and say that it is 7:30, and several of the guests have very graciously agreed to come, but they have got other plans. So if you do need to go, Ingrid and Deb and Tony, you're welcome to do that. I've got a little pattern interrupt there to say that we may change the guests over time. So after we come back from this little bit of an interlude, we'll have different guests. Some people will come, some people will leave. But I'll come back to Erica now, and she can continue on with what she's doing. But I just wanted to give a couple of the guests a bit of a chance to leave. So back to you, Erica. What were you saying? No, I'm just... there we are. Sorry, it's lots going on here, and we're using.
Well, I can tell, and I hope people are paying attention. You can see what is happening here. This is just such a wonderful. This is live streaming at its finest. So, I just being able to host these events in this, where now it's now a trend. We set the trend back then, especially in our hometown, because we were doing it when there was so much resistance. So, Keith and I, we were on Zoom so many nights, just trying to fine tune what we were doing, what we were about.
Yeah.
We were connecting with so many different, speakers, and we're doing this over Zoom. So we got an opportunity to get a head start. And that really is helping to make us become, even better at the game right now. So going into 2021, all those experiences would have set the tone for us to really, go into even a more, an ecstatic, wonderful event for 2021, because we're going to go at this again. The Global Digital Marketing Summit will be back for 2021.
Well, let me pick up on what you just said there, because in 2019 we ran a site, or we used a site called Adobe Connect, which at that time was pretty funky, sort of Zoom on steroids, and that really, really worked well. We had 150 people live in the room in a hotel in Jamaica, with lots of really cool guests in the room, which is what everyone knows. But I insisted, and several other people did this too, I insisted that I'm not flying there, and I'm happy to share what I know, but I'm not getting on a plane. And there were 50 people in the chat room saying the same thing. Hey, mate, I'm in New Zealand, I'm in Chicago, I'm in Azerbaijan, I'm in
India.
I'm in India. And can you share your wisdom? And I know we had quite a lot of people, about 50 people in the chat room asking questions live. And we had 50 people in the room as well. But what I really want to hear from you in terms of tech, how does Adobe Connect work compared to what you're now going to start using, which is called Hopin? And Ryan, that's a very important question for people on the call to know, and the people watching the call, is that Hopin has just paid $250 million to buy StreamYard. Now, I love StreamYard. I've been using it for ages. Now, Hopin owns it, and there'll be changes. So what is Hopin, and why do you think it's the next step forward for events?
Well, I really can support this, because it's a tool that we use in the international company that I'm a part of, the global organization. We're in the John Maxwell team. And I know 100% it is a solid platform. And it will now allow us to connect in such a beautiful way, which is now what people are zoomed out. Like, we know this, we've been hearing this. I have people in my group coaching and my individual coaching, and I speak to people every day in different organizations, and this is the message: we're zoomed out. It's not so much that they're zoomed out, it's just that they're not engaged enough. And so Hopin really helps to provide this kind of interaction that people need. And by the way, this is not a paid endorsement for Hopin in any way. Hopin people probably don't even know me, maybe not. But the point is that it is such a wonderful platform. I've used it, I've interacted with it. It really is going to allow us to now have that kind of interaction as if we were in real life situation. It will now allow us to do our speed networking. It will now allow us to have our individual breakout session. Keith, you can be running a session by yourself in a different room. Irene, you can be doing the same thing. So same too with that Doyle. You can literally be running a separate, different separate courses at the same time, and we're doing that online. We're having the speed networking. You can connect, and then of course there's a timer that allows you to count down the seconds that you have to network with a person. So it's so much fun. It's like speed networking in a room where you have to run around the room and give out your cards and talk to as many people as you can. It kind of models that.
Yeah. Well, let me keep it moving, because we have got some more guests. Abraham calling in from New York. We're going to bring him in to the call. So he's a bit of a groover. He's got a really great Zoom show where he interviews all these really cool guests. But what I want to do is I want to give everyone a chance on the first session to wrap up what we've talked about, give them permission to leave if they need. I know Deb is calling in from Austria. I know it's very late there. Do you want to wrap up what we've said so far? You're certainly welcome to stay as long as you like, but I want to give you permission to go if you need some sleep, or if you've got to get back to your busy life of croissants and coffee, which I'm very envious of. So what do you think we've chatted about so far, and where is this going as relation to education and really the trends moving forward?
Yeah, thanks. And I think that everybody on that has spoken already has really hit some main points. The availability, we've talked about that, the inclusivity. I think that's an absolutely huge one. I think that from an attendee point of view, where it has become really wonderful, is that some of the big events that I've actually participated in have cost thousands of dollars to participate in. And now the rate structure has gone down dramatically, where it becomes more available. So that was one of the things that I was thinking about with this, is that the online events have opened up the door that you don't have to come into a huge marketing seminar and paying, $5,000 to be there, but you can get in with a very affordable rate. And I think that back to the inclusivity and bringing more people available, the discount, the availability, the chance to share with more people and to really get our messages out there. And as Ingrid was talking about before, we've got the opportunity for us to grow and learn as we are ever evolving with online. And especially Erica talking about how it is breakout rooms. So this technology is going to grow, and it's going to grow in a way where we're going to be able to be more inclusive. And for that, I think it's fantastic. And I'm happy to be a part of today's seminar, and I'm really excited to hear from the other speakers. So I will hang tight. Just thank you so much for putting this on, because I think it is quite important on where we are going in the future.
No worries. Well, I really want to honor what you've said there, Deb, because we are doing a special show with you, because we were chatting last week, and you are so well versed in the internet that you, in spite of your glorious appearance, actually predate Google. I cannot believe you must have started your work at like 4 years old. So, your history in the internet world predates Google. I really don't even understand what that's like. I can't remember that. But there was a day in the past where Google didn't own YouTube, and that we didn't do everything on video. And we're going to do a special show on that in a few weeks. So thank you so much for coming on.
Looking forward to it.
Before I bring on Abraham to really play this out, I want to bring Doyle back to just pick up on what we've said. Give everyone a turn to reiterate. What do you think the speakers have said here, Doyle, as it relates to digital events?
Well, it's a good question, Keith. Thank you. I think it's a matter of looking at how we actually connect it. Like we talked about hybrid events, we talked about replacing events and that sort of thing. But we still have to kind of look at how do we actually connect those. I love the phrase that Erica had, like being zoomed out, which kind of really sort of puts it in perspective that yeah, people are tired of it, and there is a reason for it, and not just because they don't like connecting online and that sort of thing, but it's because it has been a very linear experience. It hasn't sort of connected the dots. All it is just a talking head. And I said that at the beginning of the show, but there you can't sense, you can't feel, you can't understand. All I'm seeing is the video and the audio and that sort of thing. So I don't really know what you're feeling and that sort of thing. So it makes it a big challenge to be able to do that. But we can sort of enable and engage that a little bit differently with not just having somebody talking about some technical subject as well. I've been to some brilliant events that have brought in some entertainment and some comedy and some mindset and some philosophy and art all into these conferences and on Zoom. And Zoom is the platform, and it's been around for a while, and we're kind of stuck with it, but there's a lot that we can do to control the content and to control and manage the experience. And if we're able to integrate those pieces, you know what, that's the step of the the digital experience, as well as being able to do that quickly and effectively, and creating that environment that it becomes more of like a festival. It's not just
a festival.
I'm here to learn and to educate myself on what you have to say, which is obviously important. That's what people come for initially, but it's also they're going to remember you. They come for the information, they leave for the knowledge, right? And the wisdom that they gain and the connections that they've made as well. So without that, unless your show is kind of going to amplify that kind of stuff, people are just going to forget it. So we need to really integrate all these different pieces into it. And then from there, it's like we talked about hybrid events, and that's really where I feel that everything is going in terms of the actual event. So how do we connect the digital with the real life through that experience, delivering packages beforehand so that they can become part of that experience that you then talk about. So you can take them through a chapter of your book, or you can have a mug or something like that everybody shares in that discussion kind of thing, and shares a story as well. So we really kind of need to look at how do we actually connect that story, that journey together, for businesses and for people who are attending as well.
Absolutely. Now, I want to bring. I want you to hold that thought, Irene. I want you to pick up on that, but I want to bring Abraham in because he's calling in from New York. It's late there, and he's gone to all that trouble to call in. So I want to get him. Lovely. That's I've seen this background before. I was actually going to comment that that's a lovely grand piano, but of course this is the green screen feature, isn't it?
Yes, this is the green screen edition of the grand piano.
Okay. So I want to hear from you, Abraham, what your take is on this idea that, first of all, what's your favorite component of the digital event world, and also what do you think we can do better? What have you seen the holes in the process? Because we definitely want to do better. So first of all, start with what do you love about digital events, and what do you think we're doing right?
Yeah. So what I absolutely love about digital events is exactly what we're doing right now. I get a real high out of speaking to people, different people all over the world. And, look at this call right here. I'm in New York, you're in Australia, we have Deborah in Europe, and I don't know where the rest of you are from because I just came in the middle, but it doesn't matter. That's the point. And you get to speak to people all over the world simultaneously. And to me, that's really exciting. Just on a personal level, I enjoy that. On a practical level, you've got this concept of a global coverage. You have, like you just had up on the screen here, being able to access a global audience. So as a business, if I'm hosting an event, I don't have to worry about, are these people, are there more people in New York, or, what about London, and, what about San Francisco? You get them all in simultaneously. And that's really exciting. And also from a participant standpoint, I'm sure you've seen this many times. You have event seasons where, like there's a certain week of the year where everybody's doing events. So now I've got to make a choice. Well, do I want to go to that event in London? But, Sydney has a really good event. But, really I want to be in LA. Well, you can join them all. You wake up early, you join the London event, midday you're in New York, in the afternoon you're in LA, and in the evening you're in Sydney. And just like that, you've just traversed the globe and gotten the best of both worlds. So that's a really big plus, something that really excites me.
Let's pick up on this before we go to the second part. What you've said there is really brilliant. You've emphasized really a couple of times, and my friend Helen from Chicago is going to say this as well. You can go to 3 events on 3 continents in one day. You can go to an event in Australia, you can go to an event in North America, you can go to an event in Europe because they're on different time zones, depending on your sleep patterns. So you can actually get the maximum benefit of the available material to learn. You don't have to sit on a plane to get to London. And then when you're in London, sure, you're there, but you can't be in New York at the same time. You can't be in Australia at the same time. And so as a speaker and as a participant, we have multiple levels that we can get the maximum use of the available materials without having to be restricted by location. Is that sort of where you're going with that idea?
Yeah, pretty much. You don't have to be restricted by location. And not only that, but you save a whole lot of money too. I mean, let's face it, travel's expensive. You got the planes, you got the hotels, and there are, other aspects, meals and all that. You could just be sitting in your living room and, enjoying presentations from all over the world without having to pay anything.
Yeah. Oh, look, I really want to pick up on the saving of cost because Deb mentioned this too, and I didn't actually do a video for this, but the idea that there's cost involved in going to events. Just the cost of the event is sometimes prohibitive. Not only getting there and the meals and the accommodation and the time that you have to take off work, but the cost of the event itself can be prohibitive, sometimes really ridiculously so. But you've got a couple of suggestions even more than that about how we can make online events even better. What do you think's going on there?
Yeah, so like some of the speakers had said earlier, there's this concept of being zoomed out, right? And, we're not picking on Zoom. We've got StreamYard, we've got WebEx. There are plenty of other players out there that we could pick on. But, it's actually to Zoom's credit that they're being, they're the de facto standard nowadays. But going back to the first point that I started with, where, I get excited by speaking to many different people, there is this human element that the virtual or online events, it's missing it's missing a flavor, it's missing a spice. And we're interacting, and those of us that are used to working on the phone, it's not that big of a deal. But those of us that are used to going to events and we meet people and there's this energy, it's not the same. Now, obviously, online is still online, right? So, we've got to get past that point. But if we could take out one thing from the human element that we could bring to online events, that would be the networking. So to give you an example, right before the pandemic hit, literally like the last few weeks right before the pandemic hit, I was planning on going to Spain to Mobile World Congress, which is a huge event, 100,000 people there. It's a series event. I invested a lot of time in researching the top 100 people that I want to see. And I made a list and I ranked it. And, I'm not going to just go to an event. I mean, the speakers are great and all that. And I love getting all the knickknacks to bring home to the kids. But, the main value of one of these events is the fact that you get to network with other people. I'm going to have a chance to meet all these businesses that I want to see. You know, it's hard to reach them by phone, and you email each other, you're tweeting each other, but it's not the same. Now you get to meet them in person. That takes you to a whole new level. So how can we bring that to the virtual event? Well, stuff we were just seeing here up on the screen. You know, we've got it chat, and we've got interactions with people. So as speakers are talking, you have the audience reaching in through the chat, and you're engaging with them. Posting profiles of speakers online at the events so that people can look them up and then post messages for them and engage with them, and so on. So to sort of bring some of that best of both worlds, some of the best of the human events, the online events, the in-person events to online.
Yeah, well, let me pick up on this. I want to say hello. Erica's here, but she's mentioned this is a very good example. She actually went into the Facebook group and made a comment. Now, she's actually on this call, so this is a little bit of a doubling up. But the point is that if she hadn't have been able to come to the event, she could have watched the event and made comments on Facebook. And I, as the event organizer, can honour her and share her wisdom with the group. My friend Louise is actually in New Zealand. We can actually share her wisdom with the group. So this idea of what Abraham was talking about, trying to bring in the human element. As he said, he was going to go to an event in Spain. It's going to be a big investment of money and time. He wanted to make sure that he went to meet the key players. Well, imagine being on an event, which we are, and the key players are here now. You're chatting to them. You're watching them. You can chat to them on Periscope, on YouTube, on LinkedIn when we eventually get it, and you can do it on Twitch. And there's all these new ones starting. And so, with that in mind, I want to bring in Irene again to wrap up what we've said. We're coming up to nearly the first hour, so we've got a fresh change of guests coming up soon. What are we chatted about so far, Irene, as it relates to where we're going with digital events? Digital events have got to be engaging. You've not been excited about the word gamification. Have we twisted your thinking in that regard? Can you see the point?
I am wearing my business hat, Keith, okay? Because gamification may sound too far reach for some of the business leaders, but you're absolutely right. Excitement and engagement of a game, okay? I'm having terrific time here. So Erica, as you pointed out, this is awesome. And the reason this is awesome, because technology allows us to connect almost to what Avraham was referring to, human element. I feel in the company of the best friends who are professional, who are engaging, and who are really interesting to listen to. So this element, human part of it, is already here. Yes, we're kind of two-dimensional. I agree. There is some limitation. But what I've heard is that wonderful things that we are here from all over the globe, and wonderful things that everyone can join us. Okay, that's something. And
well, I want to bring in Erica about this, because she went to a great deal of trouble this is meta, isn't it? She's in the event, tweeting about the event, and also mentioning in the Facebook group about an event she's actually currently in. So it's very meta. But what I want to do is I want to ask Erica about StreamYard, because she hasn't seen this on operation, but she's seen Hopin. Are there similarities between what we're doing here and what Hopin offers, or is it a totally different animal? Does it have different goodies? Oh, you're muted. Sorry, I muted you. Yeah, I've got you. Oh, you're still muted.
Okay, there we go. So with Hopin, the additional feature that I would want to highlight is the ability to do the speed networking in real time. Right now, if we were, we would have like a main stage where this will be taking place, because this is the main stage. And then, of course, there is a segment where we can allow for people who are now online watching us to come in and network with each and every speaker within a certain time. So they can now literally be coming face to face, having that one-on-one discussion and speed networking as if you were in a physical room, trying to meet the speakers physically. So it is a very cool highlight for me. I really love that feature because now you get to do that. Also for like our partners, so like for our event partners, we would now be able to have to showcase their products and services in a whole in a expo area. So they will now have an opportunity where their representatives can be in their virtual booths and doing, talking about their products and services. People can now hop in to go look at brands, to go see what are some of the services that they offer and talk to a representative right up front and get the information that you need, just as if you would be walking around in an expo hall. So those are the two key highlights for me. Well, I should say three: the ability to have that breakout room session, the speed networking, and of course the cool expo feature where allow our clients to be able to have that expo and have that one-on-one time with potential clients. So
Brilliant.
that's.
And we're talking at great length about this next week, where we're showcasing the Hopin platform. And we're also leading up to your great event, which is in May. We can start playing this out. It's called the Global Digital Marketing Summit. And you can see what it's going to look like. It's a zillion times better than the one we had in 2019. We're already tapping into some tech. But I want to bring Doyle back in here about what Erica just said. Mate, what do you think Hopin offers compared to the ones you've been looking at? You've been looking at AirMeet, which we love, airmeet.com. Have you had a look at Hopin? Can you resonate with what Erica's been saying?
Yeah, a lot of them are having sort of that, again, they're sort of building on the traditional aspects of conferences and meetings and that sort of thing. So that's a good thing, right? I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but what I am saying is that what I've found in all of this is that we kind of need to redefine it a little bit. So yes, we want networking, and yes, we want sort of that foyer where everybody gathers, and we want the speed networking, and we want the trade show booths where our sponsors can kind of showcase them and that sort of thing. So we really kind of need to look at, well, what else? Like, if you could really fundamentally design, and that's a question for everybody, is if you could fundamentally design or redesign that conference experience, that in real life type experience, what would it look like? And I think it would change a little bit, because a lot of the conference tracks and that sort of thing is based upon that specific level of content that's offered, and it's usually quite technical. And again, could we make actual conferences better too? Like we talked about, being more in a hybrid type state of sort of combining the digital with the in real life as well. So how do we actually define that, and how do we actually make things a little bit different for that? So can we create like a festival experience? Can we create a something that's, again, a remarkable digital experience worth remembering, so that people can actually enjoy it and they remember it? And that means that we have to plug in pieces that we wouldn't necessarily do that. And for example, that's where you can you can purchase a box, business in a box kind of thing that arrives before the event, so that you're then able to communicate and connect with people that are there. But I guess fundamentally, it's how do we actually create that, drive that experience, and redesign that.
Let me pick up on what you've said there about swag. This is a very key point that we've talked about a lot, where we may be forming an alliance with someone who can organize events with the possibility that the day before the event, you can have a box with a pen and a T-shirt and a cap.
We actually do that.
Perfect.
You do?
So
you do
on-demand
do
delivery.
that already?
For the international organization that I'm a part of, that I just mentioned, with our international conference, everybody actually got a box with different goodies. So you have like the clappers, you get your book, you get your stress ball. So our conferences are just so energetic and full of life because of how it is done. Then, of course, we, again, remember, I'm a coach and trainer. So we also have to do speaking engagements where we're actually grading each other So you would deliver like a speech, and of course we grade each other. So that happens like in a breakout room. It's really, 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 really powerful. So everybody would get their boxes like beforehand with their goodies and stuff like that. But
it's a shared experience, right? And that's
course,
really what.
so now you have your pom poms and all those things, your branded material all showing up for the conference. And I know that we're going to be doing that, KK, for our upcoming event as well, just to make sure that we
the fundamental
have
thing that's missing there is, again, that shared experience, but how do we actually add that emotional connection to an online digital event? And it is hard, don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily easy, but having something like that, an on-demand piece of branding property or gifts or whatever the case you want to call it, having that creates that emotional connection. And that's fundamentally what's missing in a Zoom call. It's like there's no emotional connection here whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, let me be coming up to the start of the hour, coming up to 8 o'clock now, and so I want to give people who want to permission to leave. Abraham, do you want to just wrap up what you've said there? You can leave. You're certainly welcome to stay as long as you like, but it is coming up to the half-hour mark, and I wanted to give people the opportunity to leave if they can. Did some of what we chatted about address the concerns you had or some of the interest you had in the online world? Are we getting closer?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are. I really like what Erica had talked about, the breakout rooms. I actually experienced that at a more of like a community event, which was really good, where people got to meet individually in different like private meeting rooms, and it almost felt like we're sitting next to one another.
Yeah, are you monitoring comments? Subject says, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Hello, mate. How are you?
It's like, Keith, come on, you got to put that up there now. Hurry.
Nothing worse than making a comment and no one. And look, a big hello to Subject.
My comment showed up as Facebook user, so I don't know.
Sarji, where are you posting your comments? I've been looking on the YouTube page.
Yeah. So there it is. He's on YouTube, but
is he? Okay, because there's no comments there, but yeah.
And we'll get Subject on the call in another subsequent week. So we've come up to the first hour. I'm going to play that little pattern interrupt. If people need to go, you don't need permission. You can just go. But I want to just play a little bit of some theme material so that we do say that if you do need to go, you're getting tired, whatever you do. We've had people come on the show that have been annoyed at me because I wouldn't let them go. And so that's the little thing to say that if you do need to go, you're certainly welcome to.
Is this where you sing a song, Keith?
No, I'm not singing a song.
Come on, we want to hear you sing, or you laugh. Let's get you laughing during the intermission.
The laugh will come. So Deb's left. She was in Vienna. It was very late there, so she's going to get some sleep. I want to bring in Tyler and I want to bring in Greg. So big hello to Tyler. Where are you calling in from, Tyler?
Right outside of Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia.
Northern Virginia. Okay, no worries.
Happening today.
Wow!
Couldn't have picked a better day.
And Greg, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from New York, a suburb of Northern Virginia.
And do you know Abraham? Isn't he from New York as well? I think he's in White Plains. Is it White Plains? He's in Abraham, who was on the call but has now gone. So while we've got you, Greg, let's start with you. You've probably been in the call and heard a little bit about what we're talking about.
Sure,
What do you think the real power of digital events are, and what do you love about them, and what are the key points that we can really hone in on?
I mean, to me, I think that if I had to sort of kind of boil it down to even just one word, it would be access. And what I mean by that is you're erasing time barriers, you're erasing space barriers, you're erasing budget concerns in a lot of cases. At the same time, I think there's an opportunity. I don't think we're living up to this just yet in all of the ways we can, but even an opportunity to expose people to more perspectives, more sort of different ideas coming from speakers, for example, that you might not see at an event in your area, who might not travel to your area, but would certainly be available to do a remote event. To me, it's really about an opportunity to diversify the kinds of learning experiences people have.
Let me pick up on what you've said there, because the event in Jamaica is a very good example. I was never, ever, ever going to go to Jamaica. You may not have been part of that discussion, but, and 2 years ago I was asked to speak in Jamaica, but it's a 27-hour flight for me. Right. So there's plenty of people that speak about what I know, but I'm an Aussie and my perspective is unique. So I did speak at the event, and because there was an online component, my wisdom, if that's the right word, was shared with whoever was there. So because the technology now exists and it's quite affordable, we can now get a large range of a diverse points of view for very little cost. And that's really shifting things around, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And there, as a speaker, there are pros and cons to that, right? Because, I'm sure there are plenty of people around the world. While my point of view may also be unique to me, there are plenty of people that speak about what I speak about too. And what I find is that before virtual, if somebody said, hey, we'd like you to keynote our event, I could say, all right, I want $50,000 and a live pony. And nobody would ever negotiate. It was like, yep, that's his fee, pony, we got it. Where should we ship it? When it comes to virtual events, I feel like there's still so much uncertainty among the buyers, the organizers, about will this work? Will people come? Will they pay a premium? Will the event go well? Does this speaker know how to deliver through a digital format, not just a physical format? So there's a lot of downward price pressure, I find. And then of course on top of that, it's the sort of the access, the diversity, the ability to say, look, there's a guy just like you in Australia, or there's a guy or woman just like you in Jerusalem who talks about the same topic, and I don't have to pay her air travel anymore. I don't need to bring her into the States for 4 days. So there's that kind of pressure too, which could potentially be negative in some ways, in that it could actually kind of create a culling of the speakers in a way, where you have the big rock stars that everybody wants that can command their price. And a lot of the up and comers might kind of fall out of the mix when they find they can't quite make a living at it. So that's like Craig, just a pro and a con, I think, in a lot of ways.
Do you see then that as the buyers, the event organizers, not sort of seeing that value of sort of the digital type
I think it's
conference?
Yeah, I think it's less about not seeing the value and more about being not quite understanding it just yet. And we're seeing that, and I'm sure this came up. I kind of popped in and out of I feel like I'm monopolizing the conversation and Tyler's not getting to say anything. But and Irene's just sitting there smiling. Hello, Irene.
Always looking smiling.
But what was I saying? That
well, we're talking here about speaking.
We appreciate the buyers appreciate the value.
Yeah, so I think it's more like this is even close to a year later what I see, and I'm kind of I have an interesting perspective because I work as a speaker. But I also have a marketing agency, and we plan events for some of our clients. So we book speakers, and we do logistics, and we do all that kind of stuff. And what I'm finding is even a year later, especially for organizations that are used to doing one big conference a year or two big user groups a year, this is the very first time they're doing a virtual event. And it's not that they're not convinced that there's value. It's that they're not quite sure how to kind of get their head around the value and understand like the ins and the outs. So I think we're still in that phase where people are kind of learning as they go, and they're trying to hedge their bets as much as possible.
Can I just bring Irene on this, and then I promise, Tyler, I'm bringing you in very soon. Just hang tight. So, Irene, let's pick up on what Greg's just said there. The value of a digital event compared to a physical event where you've got a known quantity, a famous speaker, got a cool event, a cool platform, a cool location. What's the value proposition of an online event? Where do we go from here?
Value proposition from business standpoint, Greg kind of touched that element a little bit, because as a show producer, okay, as a conference organizer with certain budget zone restrictions, of course you're measuring, right, where you will get the biggest return. And sometimes speakers, fascinating speakers, draw audiences in, so you don't save up on the local guy when I really need top talent. So, but Greg, you're absolutely right that should come. I mean, that should emerge from all this, what the waves of change we're living through, and it will.
Mhm.
And it will, but absolutely, speakers are top talent. You know, fight for top talent is going to continue. It's just going to have different forms.
Yeah.
And for the business standpoint, companies who are organizing thank you, my clients kind of events, right? Thank you, my partners. The whole ecosystem becomes alive, right, when this event is on. So those things that they have to measure hard, you know, the investment and what kind of business they get out of it. And I'm a huge proponent that digital version of it can be and will be very business effective. And we're going to talk about it. Yeah.
We've mentioned many times, we believe the ROI is better overall. You want to speak about why you think the ROI is better, especially given that you have had events that you've organized with big budgets.
Big budgets.
And you can't measure stuff. So tell me what the value proposition is of an online event and what the ROI might be.
Online event, we have to play to human element. I mean, that was a proponent of us getting together for an event as humans, right? So it's going to be experience. It's going to be, you not only get to know lots of new people, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to be refreshed. Your whole mind will be absolutely awed and shocked by what you see. And we see it on CES, right? Just the latest conference there. Yes. Those who are not excited after that event, I don't know who you are, you know. Yeah. So the absolute experience, right? Convenience, we talked about it a lot. I mean, you don't want to fly 27, you know, hours anywhere. I don't want to fly anywhere for 27 hours.
Let me pick up on what you just said there. So we've talked about CES. CES was an event that normally would have been run in person this week. This time it was in Las Vegas, and that no one actually went. Not many people went to the physical event, but it was online. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people watched the video versions of that, a total of about 1 billion impressions in one day, a very measurable ROI on an event that would have cost everyone concerned a lot of money. I want to pick up on the fact that we've had some comments about where's Debbie. Debbie's in Austria, and she was only popping in briefly. Debbie Norton, Bravo Media One on Twitter if you want to contact her. She's probably just gone to bed. But thank you, Rebecca, for that. Thank you for popping in to ask where she is. I want to bring in Tyler now and ask the quintessential questions. What are digital events? What are the parts of digital events that excite you, and what can we do better? The two fundamental questions.
Well, both online and in-person events have their pros and cons. One of the reasons that I really like the online events is because there's absolutely no way that you can accidentally be hot mic'd while in the restroom. In all seriousness, though, I've done quite a few online keynotes in the last year, and I really love these online events because you can have more people attend these events, and therefore I feel as a speaker as if I'm able to reach and help more people. And I really like the global aspect of it too, because the reach is quite far. I've also noticed that people are less shy about asking questions in online events, and pretty much every question can be answered even after the event.
Yep. And a big mention to the idea that this is exactly what's happening. Avraham was in New York. I'm in Melbourne. Doyle is in Perth. Irene's in Connecticut. Erica's in Jamaica. Debbie's from Connecticut, but she's living in Vienna. We're all on the same call at the same time, watching it either on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, and no one's got a mic on me when I'm in the toilet. I mean, you've got brilliant points there.
That actually did happen to me.
That's right, Tony from Edmonton, not Calgary. But what
I'm
can we
sorry,
do
Tyler.
better?
Did you say that you were hot mic'd in the washroom? Is that why you're
Oh yeah, that
concerned?
happened. Oh yeah, it happened.
Yeah. Okay. So what can we do better? What can we take from the online world, or the off world, the offline world, the off-world line, and what can we take on into this environment? What are we missing? What's missing?
Well, I think I'm going to be echoing a lot of the previous responses, but I really like that idea of the smaller breakout sessions between attendees and speakers, because it really does make people feel more included, and attendees will get more out of the event that way. And this just depends, but if attendees can turn on their video, if it's a small enough event, I really like that because it puts a face to a name and it helps make things much more interactive.
Yeah. Okay. That's a very key point, and picking up on that, the idea that a lot of people are zoomed out.
A quick difference, Keith, as well, that with AirMeet, for example, like you're able to bring people into the conversation. So if they have a question, you can bring them in.
Oh wow!
You can do that with Zoom, right? If somebody has a question and you're in a meeting, you can do that. But one of the huge barriers is something like an old school webinar, where if somebody does have a question, it's just a chat message, right? And you can either answer it or not. So you're really kind of dropping out that engagement side of things as well. So
yeah,
and that's something that we need. Again, I asked the question, how can we actually design the better experience? And that is one of the ways, is being able to bring people into that conversation so that they can answer the questions, or they can ask the questions rather.
Look, I want to bring Greg in because Subject's asked quite a few questions. What you're doing there, Greg, is you look like you're on the Today Show. I love it.
It's the best camera I've ever seen. I'm jealous. I want it.
Tell us what you're doing in terms of tech. What do you got going on there?
So I know he asked specifically about the camera, which is a Sony A6400 or 4600 or something like that. So it's a DSLR. I'm assuming, I don't know what rate I'm streaming at. I know I can stream up to 4K, but I'm sure we're not actually streaming out at 4K. I've got a kind of plain old USB desktop podcasting mic, like several of you have. But I am also lit by LED panels, not by overhead lighting. Which is another thing you learn as a speaker, right? When in the real world, I'd show up, I didn't even need to bring my laptop. The organizer had my slide, the tech guys in the back of the room got it on screen, stage was set up, lighting was done, sound was set, clip on my mic, hopefully not hot when I go to the bathroom. I show up, I sing, I leave the stage, I get back on the plane, I go. Here it's like, now I'm like the sound guy, the video guy, I'm the lighting producer, I'm the I've got to have like triple redundancy of my internet connectivity, but it's worth it because it creates, it's part of creating the experience. If we're talking about experience, I think one of the sort of the wobbles in virtual events today is the great disparity in experiences, even among professional speakers. A lot of time, you've got such a disparity. And so that when somebody shows up, it's like, well, what am I getting? Am I getting a guy in his office in a room? Am I getting a guy, using his, Apple webcam? Am I getting somebody that's, using full green screen with, video motion backgrounds and animations and, lower thirds and stuff? It's like, there's just so much. The diversity is good, but also the disparity can sometimes be.
Look, I think this is ultimately why Doyle and I initially, and also now Irene, got together and said, look, there is an opportunity here for us to lead the way.
Absolutely.
To say, look, this is coming and you need to learn this. You can get a laptop and use the webcam in the laptop at 480K, or probably be 480p, I'm guessing, and it's grainy and it sort of gets you by. Or you can buy a laptop, or a webcam, or you can buy some lights, or you can have a nice mic. And each time you, as a sort of a professional, each time you invest in one component, whether it's lighting or a webcam or a mic, you are raising the bar in your performance.
Yep.
Which means that look at what we're achieving here.
Yes.
This is only 720p, right? This is only 720p, but it could be the Late Show. It could be CNN. We're creating an adventure here that is really first class, and I'm very proud of what we're doing today. I mean, it's really, really good.
You'll have to share more jokes then, Keith, if you want to be on the Tonight Show.
Oh, you're going to get me laughing. So back
Go
to
for
Tyler.
it, Keith. Come on.
Back
We're
to
waiting
Tyler.
for it. Sarjeet's waiting.
Back to Tyler, because she hasn't had a big share of the speaking. I really want to pick up on what we can do better. What can we do better? You've talked about the idea of the breakout rooms. You've talked about the idea of getting people networking. Let's pick up on that. This is the real opportunity we have now. What technology have you seen in the world, and what do you think's missing?
Well, online life is not going to be the same as a real in-person event. But
Yeah.
you know, one of the things that that I've noticed, you know, every cloud has its silver lining, and I like that people feel more comfortable allowing other people into their homes. And I think that type of interactivity and that type of, you know, showing yourself as a person and letting people have insight into, you know, what the speaker's world is, or even the attendees' world, I think that makes it a little bit more interactive and a little bit more personable.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're just coming up almost to the end of the half hour here that we've allotted to the group. Everyone is welcome to stay as long as they want. No one has to leave, but I want to give people permission to leave. I want to bring Irene back in, because what we've got here is the idea that digital events are here to stay, and we compare them to the offline world. Where are we going with the idea of offline, big budget, lots of guests, and lots of costs, and the digital world? Where is it? Where do you want to take this now? Because we're driving this as a digital event sort of adventure, aren't we?
Yep. So for a big event, and again, to me, big event is a happening. It is a show. Yes, it's learning opportunity. Yes, it's networking, but it's a lot about show, talking about festival point that Doyle was making. Yeah. So those elements we will crave, and we will get them, because I saw some events doing really stage for a few people in the audience, right? But you have this real stage presence at least. Okay.
Wow.
Everyone is online, right? So we can call it hybrid, or you can call it, at least organizers know what you crave. So this is one element. It's a little more expensive than having everyone online, but at the same time, return might be also, you know, worth it. So the big conferences, they will have this kind of TV, the best of experience of physical element that they, you know, comfortable to bringing into this world, right? So that's my prediction, Irene, 2021. But at the same time, the biggest, online experience, I like to call it digital experience, okay?
Yeah.
Digital event, right? And what we discussed with Keith and Doyle, second half of last year, is about what about entertainment element to it? We can deliver absolutely fabulous, top-notch performers who will spice up the events.
Yeah.
Do you remember these long drawn sessions at physical events, back to back, when everyone is so tired at the end of the day, they cannot think of dinner. They cannot think of anything, you know, of connecting to their homes or their families, because they're just so tired from long sessions. So speaking of festivals, we should be able to employ fantastic performance, fantastic entertainers who between the session can give us the, you know, light, the human kind of element of smile, of laugh. Okay, I'm a big proponent of not overstuffing events with content, because we were guilty as charged, you know, putting too much education in, which cannot be consumed. So a lot of things we can do, Keith.
I want to pick up on, I want to challenge you a little bit on the idea. I want to ask Greg and to Tyler about this. The word gamification for me is an exciting word. It's a chance to add comments at the bottom. Hello, Erica, who's making a comment on the Facebook group. That's gamification. But you had originally been a little bit concerned about it. Can you tell me, have we been able to move you into a realm of accepting it as a business proposition, or is it still a little bit sort of dangerous to think that gaming and business can share the same room?
Yes, Keith, I did bring some concerns, let me put it this way, representing larger corporate community here, all right? In a way that when you say gamification, it's good that you're engaging. It's good that people drawn to you, that you don't pay them to play the games. This is wonderful, right? At the same time, if I'm a serious leader with a budget out there, and I am thinking about online, almost like casino type of happening, it might turn off some of the potential, I would say, companies who do need different thinking around digital events. So all I'm saying is gamification, when, like everything, when desserts, when they used sparingly, okay, when the whole event is not about carnival and just entertainment, right? I am very comfortable with gamification our life, Keith. Now,
let me bring the other guests in on this, because and using the word dessert really nails it. Like, you can't have cheesecake 3 times a day. You can. It's not impossible, but it's not very good for your health, and you'd probably get a headache. So, Greg, what do you think about gamification in the online world, in the business world, mainly the corporate world? Is there room for it, or is it working?
I think that, if I understood some of what Irene, I understood most of what Irene was saying, but I picked up one point out of it and understood it correctly. Her hesitance comes from when you think about sort of the traditional corporate market. I speak at a lot of corporate events, and can you gamify South by? In a minute. Can you gamify the senior leadership summit for a 200-year-old manufacturing company where the average age is 64? A little tougher, right? But I'm thinking more broadly. Like, the word that came to mind is, as you guys were talking gamification, for me was a made-up word of engagification. Trademark. That could include gamification type elements. But it's really, how do we create a suite of engagement elements, whether they're gamification or person-to-person interaction, or the kinds of things like even Tyler was getting at a little bit with this idea of ripping down the wall between the speaker and the audience, or whatever, to really kind of make it engaging. I think, to me, the question is almost, and I saw, I believe Doyle stuck it in the comments, was, why do we have to compare real world events with digital events? Is that the right comparison? And it's just natural, right? Every new medium is built in the model of the medium that came before, right? Radio was reading the newspaper over the air. Then TV was a guy with a hot mic reading radio style scripts. Early internet was brochureware, right? So we're doing the same thing here. If we're saying, how do we make the digital event more like the physical event? It's a natural inclination. But to me, how do we break out of the constraints of the physical event? Certainly this idea of being able to bring people from around the world, larger audiences than ever before, et cetera, is part of that. But how do we break the whole model? Even the idea of having a 2-day morning to night, and when you're exhausted, you still have to go and watch, Foo Fighters play a set. Why is that? Like that's a constraint of the fact that you can't have an event you can't have a keynote every day if you're organizing a large corporate event, or you can't have a breakout every day for 3 weeks, or leave your exhibit hall open for a year. But how do we start to get into some of those things, right? And think about, how do we break it down, have different types of sessions, different styles of conversation? How do we, why not an hour a day for 2 weeks that people can carve it out on their calendar and not have to, say, oh, it's a full day. I'm just making stuff up now. I'm not saying this is going to be right for every event, but to me, I think that's, we need to start thinking that way, and engagement comes, is a very big piece of that.
Yeah, well, let me pick up on what you've just said there, Greg. I did an event in LA from Melbourne with a friend of mine who lives in Hollywood, and the event was run over 2 weeks, and it was every night from 5 till 7. To just 1 or 2 little sessions every night for 2 weeks. And people knew that they could go to work and they could come home in their time zone, and they could watch an event after tea or before tea, and then they could go and have some dinner and watch TV. And they didn't have to commit, to, as you said, to going to an event. And while you're at the event, I'm guessing you're thinking about South by Southwest, you might as well go and see the Foo Fighters because they're playing tonight. And then suddenly you get home late. You got a keynote tomorrow. You got to pack everything into 3 days because you've gone all the way to Austin to go to this event. So if we did it online, we could have a session a night for a month. And to pick up on the CES is open now for a month after the event. Just click in, type in your little code, and you can watch all of the keynote speakers for a month for the cost of the ticket anyway. So the models are changing, aren't they? The models are changing.
Yeah, and I think we're just starting to see some of that experimentation. It's the big boys like CES, right, who are going to push the envelope on some of that. I think in many cases long before the regional bank who's having their customer conference, right? But I think that stuff is going, those kinds of lessons and that creativity and those ideas, I think, need to come to that broader business event market. And I think it's starting to happen, but we can obviously still take it a lot further.
Yeah, well, let's bring Tyler in on that idea of gamification. What do you think the real opportunity is with gamification in its purest sense for the business world, the corporate business world? And can we take some examples from CES or South by Southwest, or what do you think might happen next?
Well, first off, I just want to say I really like what Greg had to say, because he's 100% right. Comparing online to digital events, it's just not, it's oranges to apples in a way. And being able to really break through those constraints and be innovative and come up with better methodologies of delivering content. I also really like the idea of not having a 9 to 5. You're sitting in the different sessions, because it's very hard for people to learn that way. And having it broken down into smaller chunks gives people that time back, but it also helps them focus on the shorter the shorter module or whatever it is, whatever the event is, so that they can really take it in better. In terms of gamification, I think Greg was right again when he said that it's good for some events, but not necessarily for others. And I think in place of the whole gamification, I think storytelling is something that I've started noticing becoming a lot more prevalent in online engagements. And I think it's great. And I also really, really like that idea of really breaking the envelope and seeing what types of innovation we can have within this online world.
It's a very
content being delivered like this now.
It's a very, very exciting time, because what Greg said was really quite correct. When radio came, first of all, it was just simply a version of the newspaper being read out loud, plays by the goons and these sorts of people doing events that would be ordinarily at a stage, but they were just doing them on radio. So you didn't have to go into the room. You could listen to it on a big box in the lounge room. Then when television started, television was just a visual version of these plays on a screen. And then that morphed. And then now we're having events which initially look like real events. But now we're starting to say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if instead of having to go to a place for 3 days, we just did something every night from 8 till 10 p.m. for 2 weeks? And then that's it. And we'll record it and you can watch it forever for the price of the ticket. So, one of the things I really love is the idea that you can watch the replay. That's my biggest win from all of this. I've spoken at events in the city, and I've gone even interstate, and I've thought, what, I never got it. I got no way of remembering what was there. I didn't get a copy of what was said, other than what I scribbled down myself and maybe recorded on my phone. I've got no idea of what people were talking about. And more importantly, a few people have said this today, you might have 2 events going on at the same time. I've spoken at events where 4 people were speaking simultaneously, and people had to decide to come to my session or someone else's session. They were both great sessions. I wanted to go to those sessions, but I was speaking. So, and I didn't get to get that wisdom. So I think we're in a zone now where we're going to create miracles, and Erica's doing that in Jamaica and shortly. So please connect with her. Irene and I and Doyle are going to really push the envelope with Hop-In and Air Meet and all these different sites. And I really am excited. I want to give people permission to go if they need to. It's the top of the hour, 8:30. 8:30, the half hour that's been allotted. If you need to go, you're very welcome to. If you don't, no worries. You are welcome to stay the whole length of the session, but I want to honour people's time and let people stay if they want to. So that's fine. I want to bring in Ken now, calling from Singapore. I'm guessing you're in Singapore. That's what your bio says. Let me just roll that into the screen now. Look at what we're doing. Melbourne, Perth, Connecticut, Austria, Singapore, New York, and Tyler was from Washington. Well, no, not Washington, from Virginia. We are creating a world event on a platform. Great, isn't it? Isn't it great?
You forgot Edmonton again, Keith. Sorry.
Edmonton, not Calgary.
Sorry,
Edmonton,
Tony.
not well.
If you're still listening. Sorry, there's an old I'm just kind of taking the Mickey here. There's an old rivalry between Edmonton and Calgary. I did grow up in Edmonton and also in Calgary, so I kind of know the difference. But it's one of those city, fun rivalries. The NHL hockey teams, the football teams, all that kind of stuff. And they're only about 3 hours apart to drive, so and they're pretty big cities, relatively speaking, of course. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Calgary does not have the big shopping center.
They don't have West Edmonton Mall, but that's kind of one of the running jokes too. So,
well, let's bring Ken in. I want to also say that Helen is here calling in from Chicago, so that's good. We'll bring Helen in a minute. But Ken, tell us what you think digital events could be, and what do you love about them? Let's focus on what's working in the digital event world.
I get very excited about it for the simple reason that it's a big planet. I get invited to both participate in and attend a number of events that I would kill to be at. But just logistically, it takes so much time to get to the other side of the world and to get back, especially if maybe it's a handful of speakers, maybe it's not everyone who happens to be speaking. So that ability to pop in and out, and as you said, I love the idea that thanks to technology, it doesn't have to be live because of the 13-hour time difference, for example, between Singapore and New York City. It's really nice to be able to watch these when it's convenient for you, to start and stop them when it works for your schedule. It also allows you to share the best bits. And again, we can get into digital rights and the rest of it. But if I'm at a live session, I'm able to share something. It's like, oh, this was great. I have to share this. This is fantastic. It gives me more capabilities to do that if I'm watching online. So I can bring in other people who can benefit from the content in real time a little more easily than if I am sitting there listening to someone.
Let me pick up on what you've just said there. So I'm in Melbourne, Australia, but we're separate to the people that are on this call. And apologies, my lights just went out. 90 minutes and my battery ran out. But so now I'm looking a little bit like a Ferengi if you're into Deep Space Nine. So we've got all these people on the call, but we've also got people on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope. They'll watch the replay if they haven't had a chance to watch it live because there's a big difference. They can comment, and we've had lots and lots and lots of comments, and Subjeet's come in to say, hi, Helen. Let me just pick that one up. So there it is. He's watching in on YouTube. So he's watching in from San Francisco, taking part indirectly with this conversation. It's the actual latitude for this is actually enormous. I'm not even really sure we've touched the surface. Would you agree? We're just really beginning.
Use the term omni-channel. The idea that if YouTube is your channel, if that's what's most comfortable for you to watch content on, or it's Periscope, or it's some other channel that has yet to exist, this idea where people choose the channel in which they want to consume content, that's very powerful. So I applaud you for putting this on multiple channels, because I really see that being the future, that allowing people the choice of consuming content, of chatting, having that conversation where it makes the most sense for them to do so.
Well, let me pick up on what you just said there, because what we call multi-streaming is a thing. I love it. So this particular show, because I'm on the middle plan, we're using StreamYard. StreamYard for $25 a month allows you to stream to 3 places. I choose Periscope, YouTube, Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
But for $50 a month, you can stream in HD, 1080p, and you can stream to 8 sites, which includes Twitch, LinkedIn Live, a LinkedIn group, a Facebook group. You can have what's called RTMP, which means you just basically send it wherever the other ones don't mention. And there's thousands of these live streaming sites. So imagine if there's a little subgroup on a site called YouNow, which is a very young site, or Haps TV, which is a brand new site. Suddenly, you do the show once. You only have to do the show once, but everyone in the world can get it in the platform that suits them. Is that sort of what you're going with that? Yeah, is that sort of the idea?
I love that. I would add to that we know that different countries favor different channels. It's always been that way, as do different demographics. One thing I have not yet heard was that of accessibility. If I am hard of hearing, or if I speak a language other than a mainstream language, the ability to make that content accessible, often in real time, is very powerful. That I can add real-time captioning if I need to have that. I can have real-time translation as well.
Do you know of a site that does that yet? Because that's one of the things on our radar.
I have had good success with YouTube. Maybe not in real time, but their transcription is very good. I used to work for a deaf telecommunications company as their CMO, and we really were very sensitive about that to make sure that every time we had communications, that it was accessible to everyone. And one of the things we found is that when you add captioning, you're not just targeting people who have different levels of hearing, but you're targeting a much larger audience, that it helps them to make that content understandable. For example, maybe I have a very thick accent based on where I am. So maybe some people who have English as a second language just cannot understand a word I'm saying because of my accent, because of my dialect. It's much easier for them to follow if they can also read along and have those captions.
Well, I want to pick up on what you've just said there. This is a very, very good story to tell. YouTube and also Facebook now do live captioning of the streams. StreamYard itself doesn't offer captioning, and I haven't found a site yet that actually creates the captions in the site itself. But once we've sent the format to YouTube and Facebook, you can then pick up the captions that they offer within that stream. That's a very powerful idea, isn't it?
It's fantastic. And on YouTube, it gives me the ability as the author or the speaker to go in and refine that, because maybe the speech recognition is not yet 100%. Or to be honest, maybe I want to eliminate a few of the ums and the uhs. I can go and further refine that. So as people see that, they can get the best possible version of the content.
In the replay, you mean? Yeah, in the replay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's hold that thought and bring Helen in. She's calling in from Chicago. She's a very good friend of mine, and we've been chatting about all these sorts of things. Thank you so much for coming in. I know it's very late there. You said, Helen, that one of the things you love about the online world is that you spoke at 3 events in one day without having to get on a plane. Tell me about what you think's working in the digital world.
Well, hi, Keith. First of all, it's an honor to be here. And we finally meet, right? We've been talking online forever. And you and Irene as well, we talk online so often, but rarely have the opportunity to meet. I recently, in October, I was able to give a keynote speech to the Digital Transformation Summit people out of India. And then during the day, I spoke at an event, Women in Technology event during the day. And I was able to squeeze into another speech in the middle of the day, right out in the East Coast. So that could never have happened without the digital. Imagine, right? There was no way you at least have 3 weeks, right? One in the West Coast, one in the East Coast, one in India. So the possibility, I would say, the online events really extended the possibilities and opportunities.
Yeah. And what do you think we can do better? What are the things, what's missing in the current 2021, January 2021?
Yeah.
What's missing in the online world that we can do better? Because I'm really keen to push the envelope.
So I just finished writing a book. It's being released in April 2021, right, this year. What I would like to have really make the digital event more personal. When I say personal, right now you look at the screen, it looks like CNN newscast. I like to just make a slight change, right? Leverage the augment or virtual reality, even have a round table, and then allow us to pick a chair before we get, join the event. So we were able to sit in our chair and then as if we're sitting next to each other. That's a simple change, but make it really real and more personal. You can actually talk to each other. I think that's one small thing. And I also have been to events where they create these apps, right? So they allow you to meet each other before the event, to get to know each other. Then you get to stay connected with each other after the event. I think those are small things that could really enhance the engagement. I do love what Cam mentioned earlier. I talk about auto translation, right? Like people around the world, like one of the events I went to, they had 300,000 registrants with 100,000 people actually attended the event. So I was shocked to see, the level of attendance, but a lot of them may not be native speakers, right? It'd be nice to allow people to be able to see or pick and choose their own language. When they join the event, they can pick and choose the language to attend. And so make that more engagement. Like the other thing is I think the ability to track some of the messages post-meeting. Some of the tools already have, like Glibfry, they already have that. It'd be nice to have auto-generated alert to speaker as we speak, right? For example, if I'm muted, I did not realize I'm muted. The auto-generated message, rather than keep telling me you're muted. Everybody, every time you get on Zoom call, 1 out of 10 meetings, you're gonna have people being muted without realizing that person's speaker is on mute, right? It'd be good to have auto check or little alert, auto-generated alert. So I like to see more human-machine interaction enhancement, right, throughout the two and make it more real, as if we're in the same room.
Well, I want to pick up on this because I've been experimenting. It's very early days, but I've been experimenting with the site called HAPS, HAPPS.tv. Now, the way I describe that is, imagine if Periscope and Zoom had a baby.
Yep.
It would be HAPS TV. So they've got an app which you can use on your phone, and it's just, here's me at the tennis, and guess what? I just ran into this guy who's complaining that he can't get his hair cut, and he's locked in his room, and poor him. And so you're having a chat to maybe this famous tennis player who's complaining that the food's cold, and I'm using that as an example because at the moment the tennis is in Melbourne and they're complaining about really silly things. But they also have a desktop version, which at this stage is very, very clumsy, and it allows you to have up to 6 people. But the reason I like HAPS and where this is going with sites like Hopin and AirMeet and all these sites that we're going to be trying on this series is that you have this facility that on the top right-hand corner, whoever is speaking, their details show up. Okay, Keith's speaking. Connect with him on LinkedIn. Here's his LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Here's Keith speaking. Why don't you connect with him on Twitter? And what we are, Doyle and I and Irene as well, are talking about is, wouldn't it be great if inside an event we could tweet it and say, hey, we're at this really cool event. Click here to come in and have a look at it. And so the interactivity is not quite there yet, but sites like HAPS and Hopin do have the facility to have your social signals listed. So you can connect on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or wherever you are, so that this is the sort of stuff I really want to do. If I'm on a call, I want to be able to connect with Ken and Helen and Irene and Doyle if I'm not already. And so suddenly you're keeping it going, because we've all got, and I've still got a box here, a box of business cards that you just never get round to,
Exactly.
You promise that you will, and everyone's had this experience. I promise that one day I'm going to lock myself in a room and I'm going to contact everyone I met at that event last week. Some people are very good at that. I never am. and I've got thousands of business cards in a box. I never. Does everyone hear me on this? Is this the problem?
Yeah, wasn't that your New Year's resolution, Keith? Though to go through that, so we're gonna be watching you.
Does everyone have that same problem, or am I the only one?
No, I've got a stack. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't printed business cards in a while.
Yeah. Does that
else?
sort of touch on what you were saying there, Helen?
Yeah, I echo what you just said there. As a matter of fact, the challenge is not to meet people. The challenge is how do you sustain the networking, right?
Yeah.
Beyond the event. I mean, that's so important. It'd be nice to have a way during the event, right, as you said, on the side, and then connect the people so that they stay connected. And then also maybe you have a bot or whatever to remind you, hey, it has been a month since that event. It's time to give Keith a call. Right?
Like a reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So those are all through the app or whatever we create, and then it will be good to have auto reminder to remind people to reconnect with someone you just met at an event, at such event, right? What event you met, because it's hard to keep track of as you go through many events. If you're a speaker, frequent speaker at multiple events, it's going to be challenging to remember exactly which event you met with the people.
Can I bring Ken in on this? Is this a pain point for you too, Ken, or have you seen that done, or is it yet to be done?
It's funny because I tend to do it in the moment. That when someone gives me a business card, I will immediately go and ask them, because oftentimes people still do not put their social networks on their cards. And just because one is listed does not mean that someone is active on it, or that's really where they hang out because business cards are maybe printed some time ago. So I will make a point of saying, where do you spend the most time online so I can connect with you and do it right then and there from the mobile phone? And maybe that's cheating, but I realize myself, I'm probably not going to do it once I get home or forget the event and get distracted by something shiny. So that allows me to do it in the moment. Also, if I can take a quick browse at what their presence is, for lack of a better term, what is currently of interest to them, I can actually use that live in that discussion with the person to find a way to better connect. And often we are trying to sell ourselves, sell our business, sell our products and services. So I think that helps to move forward the connection that much more quickly while you're still there live with the person, if you can get a little sense as to who they are and where they spend their time.
A big hello to Subjit, who's been with us for pretty much the whole show. Thanks so much for your great comments there, Matt. Look,
why can't we see Sarjeet? Where is he? Isn't he going to come on?
No, he's coming on another show. We're going to get we can talk all about the cricket. 17 runs to go, and there was only 17 balls. Really amazing sort of experience there yesterday. But because he's an Indian, we're Aussies, and we love cricket. But I really want to pick up on this idea that there's tech that's in the process. We're right on the cusp of tech that we are trying ourselves. Remo, hop-ins.
May I share one that excites me quite a bit? And I think Helen was alluding to this, but the idea of digital serendipity. Wow. One of the things that happens at live events is the ability to bump into people. Mm-hmm. We all tend to structure and plan, these are the people I need to meet, and this is where I need to be. But that ability to very randomly in the coffee line, when you're waiting for an event, that ability to connect with people that you would not plan to meet, you would not otherwise meet, that I'm seeing some of the platforms be aware of that and say, how do we enable people to bump into each other that is not strategic, not planned, is not based on social signals, that just allow you to talk to strangers in a way that can be very productive and very rewarding.
That's a very key point of events that a lot of people miss, that sometimes the best part of events is the people that you didn't know you were going to meet, and suddenly you realize, hang on, this guy's got all this trouble to come, and I've met him, and I would never have met him otherwise. How do we do that better, do you think?
Just to add on to that point, right, imagine if you have an application, right, that connects you before you even attend the event. It asks you, here are the 10 things you can get out of the event. What are the 3? Pick 2 out of the 10 that really important to you. right? And then based on that, you can pair people up and group them to say, you can, everybody who's interested in networking in particular topic can be, have a category, right? You can connect them as a group and then auto connect them, and then they can connect before and after. I think that would be really, to me, is really wonderful way. I would think that it's so super productive. It's not just about this event meeting for 30 minutes. It's about what else you can talk about, right?
Yeah.
So I was very excited about being on the same show as Cam, because I was with AI company for a long time, the conversational AI company. Working with two of them, and not until now. So he happens to work for the company that's AI, it's a chatbot. So it's something that I have very deeply interested in, and we have so much more to talk beyond this event, right? So that being said, it'd be really nice to know people's background, and I actually checked on him on LinkedIn before even getting on, so I can, what else I can talk to him about rather than just digital event. Right. So be good to have this digital serendipity where the capability to connect people through common interest and then through different things, and then the machine can even auto generate those kind of networking opportunity for you before you even realize that, right? You upload your profile, and then the tool can help mapping people based on their interest, based on their experience. So that would be ideal in the longer term.
I love that idea, Helen, of AI-powered digital matchmaking for business people.
Yes.
So I won't call it dating, but that idea of bringing people together who may have common interests, and it may be from let's say you're big into purchasing, and maybe you work for a completely different industry or completely different company, but you're very interested in purchasing best practices. Well, that may be of great interest to me, especially because I'm maybe in a totally different industry. And because of that, maybe we wouldn't ordinarily come across each other.
Absolutely.
So that's very exciting, where potentially the intelligence itself can help us to find people that we have reason to talk to each other that we may not even be aware of.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a key ingredient there, because I've been to lots of networking events online, and that's what's actually missing, is that sometimes they force you into these, and maybe it's like speed networking too, where you're kind of forced to talk with somebody where you don't connect at all, kind of thing. So if you could, preempt that with some sort of algorithm that says, hey, you should talk to Doyle, you should talk to Ken because Ken is into digital, or Doyle should talk to Helen because she's into events. That kind of piques your interest very quickly. And that to me you can connect very, very quickly. It's like, okay, yes, you have a speed networking event, but here are the 5 people that you're going to talk to based on whatever, some form of criteria. I think that could be, explosive, really, quite honestly.
It's fair to say that people who get this right, who really create value by really enabling networking in clever ways, will probably be the winners in this online meeting space.
Absolutely.
With that in mind, how do you think the players are going? Hopin, AirMeet, StreamYard. How are they doing it so far? Are we close to getting it right, or is there a long way to go?
I think we needed a combination of that with Facebook, with the combination of those two, right? Not just one. So the alliance partnership really needed to take where we are at to the next level of digital events.
Yeah, I agree. This has been a very, very exciting chat. We're coming up almost to the 2 hours. I want to give everyone a chance to wrap up. Irene, can you jump back in and say what you think we've achieved over the course of the 2 hours? We've had lots and lots of really great events, or lots of great speakers talking about their events. What do you think the key points are that you've picked up in the whole time that we've been on?
The key points that digital events, they're not a better version of physical event. Okay.
Wow.
So the car is not an improved carriage. The car is a completely different animal. Okay. So thanks to collective wisdom of our speakers today. And hello, Helen, and hello, Ken. So wonderful to have you here. So car is not a carriage. That's what I took for our conversation. And that means that it will carry forward how we're thinking, right? How we're forming what the new experience is going to be. So let's stop comparing. let's just start living in digital world the way we do a lot of things digitally without even realizing it. If we start kind of noticing what's already gone on for us, in digital ways. So that said, we're humans. We do want to get together, and getting together means different things now. What Ken was pointing out, connecting online in the moment. I always connected with people on LinkedIn immediately. Maybe it was not the best, I don't know, not the most polite way, but that was the way for me to remember people are meeting at the event, because business cards were gone 20 years ago, frankly, right? Anyway, so connecting in the moment, this is the beauty of what we're gonna see in this digital world, right? And of course, having fun. Keith, you talk a lot about fun. That's why I like you so much. So thank you for putting this fun event together. And digital events, they gotta be about fun. They gotta be about show and entertainment and festival. The festival word, Doyle, I love it so much. So those who are gonna nail down the element of, yes, business sense with element of festival and something, look forward to, go to. Okay, it could be gamification, Keith, I'll give you that. Okay, it could be element of entertainer, right? Kind of filling out the time and breaking us from one topic to another. Okay, but at the same time, it's all about thinking what's the goal of the event there. So it's not a concert, right? It's a business venue. And at the business venue, you gotta make those deals happening. Otherwise, people not going to come to your event next time. So it's a combination to make it.
Okay. Well, I'm just playing a couple of those videos out to say what you've said there, that it really isn't a concert. It's not fun for its own sake, that it has to be something that we can learn from and gain from it as a business. But we've been chatting for 2 hours on a site here called StreamYard. If you haven't heard of it, StreamYard has now been purchased by Hopin for $250 million. We'll start to see more of these types of things. This is the first of a series of events, or a series of shows that I am jokingly said why digital events are better than real life. Now, of course, that is a little bit controversial, and the topic itself, it seems a little bit ludicrous, but events are not online. The car is not a carriage. And if we stop the comparison and we take digital for what it is, then I think we'll win. So I want to give everyone a chance to wrap up, give everyone a chance to tell people how they can contact, and I'll be sending out the recording and some snippets, some video highlights later. So Helen, tell us about your book and how people can contact you.
Well, people can get hold of me through Twitter. My Twitter handling is at Helen Yu. I'm actually on Twitter every single day, every single night, right? You can also reach me through LinkedIn, quite active there. My book the title is undecided as of this point, but it's a decision framework for founders and executives to scale their business faster.
Brilliant.
In the book, described 5 growth disconnects, right, on the framework. So I look forward to sharing more with everyone next time when we chat.
Yeah, well, we're definitely having one of these every week until Easter, because that's as much as I want to run this until daylight saving, because that always breaks my head apart when we have to shift time again. So I'm running an event every week until Easter. But Ken, tell us how we can contact you, and I wanted to thank you very much for coming in on Singapore time.
Appreciate it. It's fun to be here. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn, as is Helen, at Ken Herron, KenHerron, on both LinkedIn and Twitter. So look forward to connecting with everyone.
That's brilliant. Doyle, bring it home. Tell us what you got from the event, and we'll wrap it up now. It's coming up to the 2-hour mark. What do you think we've gained from the 2 hours we've had here, and what are the key lessons?
Well, I think fundamentally is that we can look at how do we actually build a new narrative with digital events, creating that digital experience, adding those different capabilities. I talked about, distance is irrelevant, space is irrelevant, time is irrelevant now. So we really have a key opportunity here to sort of redefine what that digital experience is. And I think we really need to embrace this and engage it and actually do something about it, because all of us here and all of us who sort of talked about it, I think we're all part of this solution, and we just kind of have to get our stuff together. And you know what? Let's do this. Let's push this forward, right? Let's manage this narrative. Let's create a new narrative for what this actually means to create a digital experience, and how it can be, you know, better fundamentally than you know, our traditional look at how events work and that sort of thing. So love to work with all of you guys. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm at Doyle Bueller on pretty much all social channels, as well as on LinkedIn also. So it's been a fantastic conversation, and I've really sort of enjoyed that back and forth as well.
Well, we're going to do more of them, and I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who took part. A big thank you to all the comments. It's really, I'm playing around with StreamYard. As you can see, I pretty much pushed every single conceivable button. I'm really maxing it out. So a big thank you to everyone involved, and we'll do more of these in the near future.
Thank you for having us, Keith.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Erin.
Bye. Thank you so much.